their room, and they had no money on them whatsoever, none in their wallet. It was crazy.
Wow. Wow. That's a story we should tell some other time. But Fish, guess what? We're live now. And we have one of the greatest and most prolific actors of our time. Stephen Root joins us. He is also a Florida Gators fan. We are talking college sports from the swamp, along with Stephen's many projects. Plus, we will get a wrap up from Tokyo on the Olympics from our man in Japan. Plus, we have our schmuck of the week, who shouldn't be around horses and who's got the swag, pulls off one of the best tackles on a Major League Baseball field. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Daily Fish. John Daly here, along with Eric Snyder, a.k.a. Fish. We are coast to coast, coming to you from Las Vegas and Myrtle Beach. We talk sports, entertainment, and everything in between. Another good one for us tonight, Fish.
We sure do. How you doing, John?
Doing good, buddy. How about yourself?
Good, thanks.
Super. All right, it's time for the daily grind. First, Holy Kombucha. Holy Kombucha is actually a healthy and wealthy kombucha tea. The company is offering Quinn Ewers a $1 million endorsement contract. So who is Quinn Ewers? He is the top high school quarterback in Texas. As a result, Ewers will now forfeit his senior high school season and head to Ohio State. Now, why is he doing this? Two rulings. First, the Supreme Court says college athletes can now profit from their image. Second, the state of Texas prohibits high school students from doing just that. So now Quinn becomes a Buckeye. One, I think it's cool. This kid has an arm and some talent. But second, overall, is this good for college sports, Fish?
I think you're riding a slippery slope, John. I mean, I love the fact that kids can now make money on their own brand. I love that. I've never liked the fact, we've talked about this before, that a Tim Tebow when they played in college, or a Trevor Lawrence, or anyone who's a superstar in college couldn't make money when the university did on their bobbleheads and their merchandise. But what happens is now these kids are leaving high school to go to college. If they start making a couple $1 million in college, isn't the ultimate goal to make it to the pros? So I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the motivation is. The motivation is always money. Hugh Douglas, real quick, a star linebacker with the Philadelphia Eagles back in the day, said getting to two sports are the two M's, money and memories, and get as much as you can. So now they can start early. I guess, yeah, I'm never about anybody not making the money. Go get the money. But I just hope it doesn't stop the motivation of what your ultimate dream is, to play pro sports and make more money.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping. Okay. Next, after our show tonight, watch HBO's long-running miniseries Hard Knocks. The Dallas Cowboys are featured for the third time on the preseason Behind the Curtains look. You will get a glimpse of preps and protocols for the upcoming season after an injury-riddled 2020 season. Fish, what are you expecting from this show tonight?
Well, it's a Jerry Jones bibliography. I mean, you said it was third time. There are a few teams, your New York Giants, the Denver Broncos, a few others that haven't been on Hard Knocks, and they're supposed to. You're supposed to go through all 32 teams before you get, on the show. For you can repeat teams. I'm expecting a lot of nothing. I mean, we know Dak Prescott's coming off an injury, so they'll talk about that. They always profile an undrafted rookie. It'll be nice to see some of the protocols. They'll probably go into the vaccinated and unvaccinated players and what their protocols are. That'll be interesting, but I'm not expecting much more than a press conference from Jerry Jones.
Okay, we'll be watching. We'll find out. And finally, on the grind, the Tokyo Olympics are over. Great drama, competition, and controversy. The U.S. wins the medal count. However, U.S. TV ratings were big losers, down 51% from the Rio Games back in 2016. My guess moving forward, expect to pay a monthly streaming fee for the Paris Olympics in 2024. Still, many people call this Olympics a success. Fish, what do you think?
It depends. I mean, I watched it, but I work late nights. A lot of the stuff that's in Japan is live when I'm at work at 2 o'clock in the morning. But they were 51% down in ratings in the United States from the Olympics in 2016 that were in Rio. So that's concerning. I mean, it's all about the money. We'll bring John on later and see what the pulse was in Japan. But I'm concerned. I mean, look, when Simone Biles pulls out of events, people don't watch. Okay, and it's about personalities. And from an American standpoint on TV, they didn't do a lot of profiles of things that happened in Japan. Usually when you went to Korea and Rio, you saw the neighborhood, you saw the customs. There was just the games with no fans, so it's kind of bland.
Well, let's go find out. You mentioned it. Let's go live to our man in Japan, John Williams. John Williams is a marathoner and a tenured teacher in Japan. John, welcome back. So let's ask you this right off the bat. So were the Olympics a success for the Japanese?
Athletically, they were. That's the best they've done for years, right? They had 27 gold medals. That was the best they've done. So athletically, it was great. They did a great job. I think financially, it's not going to be a good thing for them, and I think they're going to be paying for it for a long time in the future. So that's a different story. But short term, I think it was a success. Long term, there may be some repercussions that we'll see down the line. But right now, I think everybody's pretty happy about. The COVID numbers were fine. It was pretty much a safe Olympics, and Japan did well. So those are the good things.
John. Oh, go ahead, John.
No, I was going to say, were the TV ratings good in Japan?
It's interesting because it goes. They have it over multi platforms on terrestrial TV, just on regular TV. So they would have certain sports, like ABC would have this one and NBC would have, it wasn't all controlled by one network like it is in the States. And then streaming was just amazing because I think they had assumed that they were going to have all these foreign tourists, all these guests here. So the platform for the streaming was amazing. They had all English broadcasts by, a lot of BBC people were doing the English broadcast. That was all free. So, I mean, I've never watched the Olympics like that. I usually had 3 screens going because you could watch everything. Everything was available and for free.
Everything here in the United States was on NBC Sports Network, USA, NBC. There wasn't 1 minute of the Olympics you could not watch, John. And I thought the quality of the competition was fantastic. But it concerns John, the other John, and myself, that ratings for American sports in general are down huge, other than the NFL. And it's sort of like the Olympics were a microcosm of that. 51% is a big, big number.
That's huge.
And you know what? Paris is having the Olympics in 2024, and rumor has it they're going to start it in September. Are they stupid or what? I mean, what happens in September in America? College football is huge. Pro football is huge. The baseball playoffs are going to start. So don't you want to gather the biggest audience? And this Olympics started in July and August. All it had was Major League Baseball as its competition. Again, the positive was the competition was great. The Americans had 113 medals. They led in the medal count. I think 39 gold medals. And Japan did a wonderful job. The opening ceremony and closing ceremonies were beautiful. So kudos to you. Now, I got to ask you a personal question. I heard, rumor has it, that when you auditioned for Full Metal Jacket for the Colonel Hartman character, that Anna Cooper came to you and said, look, Arlie Ermy, as your technical consultant, is doing such a great job in teaching you, Robert Duvall, how to do this. And you kind of backed away. I heard you were fired. I can't believe you moved to Japan to go into witness protection for acting. What the hell's wrong with you?
But it was that I took that youth medicine also. I've come here, got a little younger because I think Robert Duvall is like 80 some years old now.
So is the guy in the middle screen. Look how great he looks.
Absolutely. All right. Well, he is John Williams. He is our man in Japan. He is a marathoner and a tenured teacher in Japan as well. John, thanks for the update. We'll get you back on again, buddy.
Okay, good guys. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have questions or comments, use the chat box here or email us at dalyfish1@gmail.com, and it's dalyfish1, the number 1. Or you can post to Facebook at daily.fish.5. Better yet, record yourself, short and tight on your smartphone, and send it again to dalyfish1@gmail.com. All right, it's time for some binge watching. Now, in honor of our guest, Stephen Root, tonight, I am binging The Man in the High Castle. This is based on a fictional book where Germany and Japan won World War II and what it would be like in the U.S. in the 50s and 60s. But it's more than that. It is a mind job on the viewers. It really makes you think. Fish, first, your thoughts on that, and then what are you binging?
Well, I watched the entire 4 seasons. You're in it. I thought it was brilliant. I've always wondered if you're our age, what would happen if the Nazis and the Japanese Empire won World War II? And it's an interesting take on that, and it doesn't bode well. But I mean, hey, it's like a Tarantino type thing. It's a different take on history. I loved it. I'm watching this crazy show on HBO called The White Lotus. It is a inclusive, very, very exclusive and elitist hotel in Maui. And it's all these dysfunctional people that are very wealthy that go there for a week. And it just goes to show you, no matter how much money you have, you could have a crappy life. And the acting is brilliant. A lot of actors you've seen and stuff. Steve Zahn's in it, Connie Britton, and it's brilliant. I'm only 4 episodes in. I'm hooked.
Wow, very nice. All right, I'm going to have to take your advice on that. All right, now it's time for something fishy. What do we have, Fish?
Okay, this is what we are addicted to. That's a cell phone, right? John, put your cell phone up there, okay? Now, being a bartender for 40 years, you've always had 2 ways you could kick that fist fight start, John. One is pool tables. The second's a jukebox. Someone walks in a bar and says, "Who played this crap?" Well, I did. Boom, they start fighting. The third now is people, as you always say, try to be the hero of their own stories, walk into a bar on their cell phones, talking loud and arguing with someone, while they start talking at the bar, when the pulse of a bar in a gaming place is kind of quiet. So they want to bring everyone into their world. Doesn't work. And it's always an argument. You got to toss them out. It's horrible. It's a bad place to be if you're in the bartending industry. Ask anyone. Now I see it at sports venues. I went to the Raiders practice with my son last Sunday, and people on their phones talking, looking at their phones. I've noticed it at Knights games when I've gone. I've noticed it at baseball games. But we that addicted to our phones that we can't enjoy the company of each other or an event? Raise your hand if you've been to a movie in the past and someone's goddamn cell phone is on and you got to say something and they turn around and give you crap about it. You got to get a manager or it's almost an altercation. I know these things are great in our lives. I know we can Google to find out where the nearest strip joint is in a second. But please, use etiquette, everyone. I'm not here to sit there and try and lecture you about how to act in a public place. But there's certain etiquettes that John and I grew up with that you should take solace in.
I would agree. Now, what if they're watching Daily Fish?
I'd be my what kind of shit is this they're putting on?
All right.
Forget what I just said. Yeah.
All right. Still ahead, we have our Schmuck of the Week along with Who's Got the Swag, and then we gab with prolific actor Stephen Root. Again, thanks for tuning in. We are Daily Fish. We are live on Facebook Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific. We air on DB&A television on Roku, Amazon Fire, and soon Apple TV. We stream 24/7 on the DB&A television website, which is at dbandatelevision.com. Follow us and like us on Facebook at daily.fish.5 and subscribe on YouTube. All right, it's time now for our Schmuck of the Week. Who's been schmucky this week, Fish?
Okay, I'm going to show a video, and in no way does Daily Fish condone any kind of cruelty to animals. This comes from a movie in 1972 or 4 called Blazing Saddles. Okay, let me show you this clip.
Hey, you can't park that animal over there. It's illegal.
So let's do this. Let's show
Alex Karras.
That's Alex Karras knocking out a horse. Play Mongo. Rest in peace, Alex Karras. This is Saint Boy. This is a horse that was in the pentathlon in the Olympics. See her crying? That's Annika. She's riding the horse. You know why? Because the horse would not cooperate in her getting to her timed event, which would cause her to get disqualified. So Kim Reisner, her schmuck trainer, goes up and just knocks the crap out of the horse with her hand and hitting it and this and that. That can't be tolerated. Kim Reisner's a schmuck of the week. And it's just, look, we show the video. There's nothing funny about this. You do that, you don't think people are going to see that you do that on TV or on camera? And how are you treating this horse when it's in a stable? So I feel bad for Annika, the rider of the horse, but I feel more bad for Saint Boy.
Well, and at the same time, too, we've seen a lot of the mistreatment of horses, and so many horses have died in, horse racing around the country here, and they're trying to clamp down on it. So, yeah, I agree with you. Okay, let's move to who's got this week's Who's Got the Swag? Who are we toasting, Fish?
Love this. Let me show you a video. Okay, let's get this one in here.
Great takedown.
14 teams have just talked to that young lady and invited her to NFL training camps. The name has not been disclosed from this young lady who's a ball girl for Los Angeles Dodgers. But did you see her technique? Did you see the fact that she had the A gap as a linebacker and stuck her arm out, knocked this idiot out? I mean, he's another schmuck of the week. This guy runs on the field and a ball girl gives it a forearm and takes down. Way to go, ball girl. I hope that someone sees this and at least gives you a chance at the NFL, or at least, you're in the next season of Cobra Kai.
All right, now we're going to toast the LA ball girl with our drink of the week. But first, Daily Fish Drink of the Week is sponsored by Shucks Tavern in Vegas. Great seafood and drinks in 2 locations. Head to the Shucks Tavern on North Durango on the northwest side of Las Vegas, where fish is overnight. Say Daily Fish Podcast, you get a free drink. Do it the next day, you get a free appetizer. That's Shucks Tavern. Check out Shucks Tavern on Facebook. And second for our drink, we will bring in tonight's guest, Stephen Root. He is probably the most prolific actor of our time in hundreds of films, TV shows, and theater. He more importantly brings us our drink of the week. Stephen, welcome to Daily Fish.
Oh my God! 2 seconds ago, I got it on the computer, literally as you were introducing me. I downloaded Chrome. I downloaded Chrome and became less of a Luddite.
Well, I'm glad you made it, but you got to tell us about your drink. Do you have your drink there, or because you were fixing?
I do. I got it. Well, it's not made yet. I thought you wanted me to make it.
Well, you can make it. You can make it. Please do it.
Okay. All right. So here's what I like. I like a Manhattan made with rye, specifically this Canadian rye, Weiser's 18. Buy it today. And instead of using what you call it?
No vermouth.
No, not the red vermouth, but instead use this creme de cassis. Just a tiny bit, because you're still going to get a little more sweet from your, Luxardo cherry. So you don't want to put too much in there, right? And the best thing, all right, ready? The best thing you can do is find yourself an 80 or 90-year-old friend of yours. Go over to their house and look in their liquor cabinet. They'll have a bottle of bitters from 1975. So you want the oldest bitters you can find for this drink. So that's what I say. All right, so here we go. Now here's my little mixer. And by the way, folks, that's our Chiweenie downstairs. He's a Chihuahua and a wiener dog at the same time.
Oh,
all right. Here's a shot. What? Wait a minute. There it is. Where is it? There it is. Here's a shot, and I'm going to put a little more besides, just a little more in there, and then here's the creme de cassis, and I'll pour myself just a dollop, not even a quarter of a capful. Pop it in there, okay? And then you throw the oldest bitters you can find in there. That's this, about 2 shakes worth. And then what else do you do? That's about it. Then you take your little thing and you make it good. And then you throw it in a really expensive glass like this, right?
Nice.
But on top of a nice, if I can get it out, big MFN ice cube, about this big. Pop it in there.
That's exactly what I did.
Right. So you pour that over there. You open your Luxardo cherry, you get a Luxardo cherry that doesn't, the least amount of sauce, as they say on there. If you can get some with no sauce, that would be so good. So here's the cherry. It's right there. You put it in. See, there's a little sweet on there. So that's why you don't want too much sweet in the creme de cassis. Then you swirl that around and let's say cheers to you, gentlemen.
Cheers. Here we go to the L.A. ball girl.
Sure, whatever.
Now, Stephen, what do you call this? What do you call this?
I like to name it after my favorite phrase, suck my love pump.
Oh, well, we'll drink it.
Right.
We'll drink to that, I guess. Where's that come from?
Good. Also, if you can find those little tiny mandarin orange slices, that's a good substitute for the cherry in here as well. So then you could call it, I don't know.
Now that comes from the 1980s classic film Spinal Tap, right?
Correct. Which is one of my favorites. Love that. Love all his stuff.
One of ours too. And that is a great sipper. I really enjoy this. This is great. I love doing that. Hey, let's jump into a little sports here. You went to high school near Dodgers training camp in Vero Beach. Are you a big Dodgers fan?
Nah, see, I'm kind of an Army brat. I was only in a place a year and a half at a time, but my dad was in construction, so he did steam power plants for Basco, and he'd do one. A year and a half later, we go somewhere else. So my last year in high school was close to that, but it wasn't really, I didn't grow up around it. But I did go see, it was nice to be able to walk up to the fence, just as a regular guy and see all those amazing players. Yeah.
You're a big Florida Gators fan, right?
I'm a Florida Gator, as it is. Don't be a Gator hater. I'm excited about this season. Mr. Mullen has got Mr. Jones quarterbacking this year, and we'll see how he does. I mean, he's smaller than Kyle was last year, but he's really, I like him. I think he's fantastic. We've got some we still got Malik is back as a running back, and Pierce, and so I think we'll have a heavy running game, more of a running game than a passing game, and I think we'll have some standout corners as well, but they're young, so we'll see.
When you were there and you attended the school, who was the head coach? Chan Daly or was it Doug Dickey? Do you remember?
No, it was Chan.
It was Chan. Yeah,
it was Chan.
And look at his career. I mean, he was a head coach of the Cowboys, John, and he also has been an offensive coordinator for years. So you've seen it all. Now, you have to love the Tim Tebow story, and he's really killing it. He's crushing it in the Jacksonville training camp as a tight end, and there's a good chance he's up for the starting position. I think it's a wonderful story, don't you?
Well, I do. I mean, I think he is the epitome of what you want to be in the clubhouse leader type. He works harder than anybody. He always has, all the way through his Florida days. And whatever you think about him as a rah-rah guy, I don't care. He's a 115% type of guy, which is what you want in the locker room. So I'm thrilled that he gets to play now. Even if he's 150, he's going to give it his all, and I think he's going to be great. I think Tom, I think he'll change the Brady. He'll change the whole team.
Cool. All right. Well, speaking of Jacksonville, your Gators are going to be playing Georgia in Jacksonville in what is called the world's largest outdoor cocktail party.
Yeah,
so
it's called the cocktail party. Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
First of all, have you ever gone to it, and will you take Daly Fish to it sometime?
I would love to. I would love to pull strings to get into that game. I haven't tried to do that yet, but I went as a kid, but because I've actually had a career, I've always been working on those Georgia Florida games. I haven't been able to go to them. I'd love to block out a time to do it. And if I ever do, you'll be the first people I don't call.
Thanks. Well, I got a quick one for you.
Yeah,
Steve. I'm an alum of the University of Texas, and I'm on the fence about this to me, I call it a controversy.
Yeah.
That Texas and Oklahoma are possibly going into the SEC. It just seems like ESPN is going to control everything.
Well, it's all money. You know, it's all money. It's all about money. But here's the thing: put Texas and Oklahoma in there. I would love to play them. That would be fantastic. Take Missouri out. It's the middle of the freaking country. You don't need it. Yeah, Vandy. I don't know. I love Vandy. Vandy has always been a nemesis for Florida. We'll go into a year where we're unbelievable and we'll beat Vandy 29-28. They always give us a hard year. And they're a good football team now. And like Kentucky's a good football team now. In the last couple of years. So it's going to be interesting. Yeah, I can see why you're on the fence, because you have to play the whining Texas A&M again. I mean, yeah. The whiners, they whine, and you have to play them again.
So you're okay with a big conference like that? That's a super conference, and it drains out maybe the rest of the conferences. Yes,
because it's my conference.
There you go.
All the other conferences go to hell. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. Be the Big 8. Hooray for you! I don't care.
So, Stephen, you know I'm a big Red Sox fan. So a big moment for me was the Red Sox winning the World Series in 2004 finally. As a Gator fan, did you ever have a similar moment?
I was lucky enough. My brother went to Florida as well. He's 3 years younger. But we have been lucky enough to be at every championship game. In the 96, was it 07, 08? Yeah, we were at all the games. And at the end of, I was doing a show called King of the Hill, an animated show. And at the end of that show, it was close to around that time. I said, I'm gonna get you a good watch. We're gonna, put all the Gator victories on there, and that's what we're gonna do whenever we go to a game. So I'm really lucky that I've been able to see all the championships. It was unbelievable.
So then you obviously 2007, 2008.
Yeah,
you were there when Tim Tebow quarterback, and that was just a phenomenal football team. Yeah. And you look at the alumni of University of Florida. I think the greatest alumni, the greatest is Emmitt Smith. I mean,
sure, absolutely. Even though he's only there a year, it's just incredible. We're proud as punch that he was a Gator for a while. It was amazing.
You being from Florida, Stephen, or growing up there?
I didn't grow up there. I grew up all in the Midwest. I was born in Sarasota, and 3 weeks later, my mom put me as the youngest child at that point in 1951 on a plane and flew us to New Orleans, which is where we went.
Well, when you went through the Florida experience as far as football goes and your sports down there, is it true, or is it a fallacy that the Gators, the Seminoles, and the Miami Hurricanes are more popular than the Jacksonville Jaguars, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Miami Dolphins? That college football is more king than pro football in the state of Florida. Did you feel that when you were there?
I think that's true, and especially since the Canes have risen, as it were. And God bless Bobby Bowden. Hated him at the time, but God bless him. He was a good coach. But that triumvirate, I think, is more popular in the state of Florida than pro ball, because it's even Florida. We're going to play Florida Atlantic and South Florida, and two good programs, actually good programs. I mean, South Florida was kick-ass, 3 years ago? Amazing.
Sure.
So, Florida is, I think college football in Florida is the bomb, is the best.
So, Stephen, just real quickly, college basketball, you guys are actually, preseason, even though basketball has gotten nowhere around. But when you talk to some of the pundits, they think you guys are going to be in the top 10. You got to be pretty pleased about that too.
Yeah, always pleased, and always pleased about the baseball team and everything that they do. It's fun to go watch them. They usually show them on TV somewhere. So it's great to be a Gator. It really is fun because you're able to see them pretty much all over the country.
All right, this is Daily Fish. We are talking to Stephen Root, one of the most prolific actors of our time. He is currently appearing. Yes, I know. He is currently appearing in Barry on HBO. You recently saw him in the miniseries Bombshell about Fox News' Roger Ailes. He was the man in the High Castle. You have seen him in Justified, Boardwalk Empire, just to name a few. Plus, who can forget Milton on Office Space? And he's done a ton of work. That's right. Voiceover work, including the upcoming animation series Blade Runner, which is Black Lotus. But before we get back to Stephen, let us tell you about MedSonics. If you're in Vegas and you're in pain, go to MedSonics. The sound wave technology relieves pain. I've used it. It works for me. It is non-invasive. You sit there for 25 minutes, relax, and your pain goes away. The website is medsonics.com, spelled MEDSONIX, medsonics.com. Al is the owner, inventor. Tell him Daly Fish sent you. All right, Stephen. So you mentioned King of the Hill before.
Yeah.
Is it coming back?
You know, there was a nice rumor about 6 months ago that they'd had a big meeting at Fox about it. And then somebody leaked something from it. And now I haven't heard anything from it since. But I really hope they bring it back. That kind of, the kind of animation shows that have taken over, I think are fairly mean-spirited. I mean, I like a couple of them, but there's a lot of mean-spiritedness in it. And King of the Hill never had that. And I wish, as a family show, that would come back into the world. I really do. So we'll see. I mean, I've been doing a lot of animation lately. I just dubbed a Japanese animated film into English. I've never done that before. That was a cool session and a long session. I did a remake of the He-Man series. I think I'm actually not sure where it is, where it comes on, but I'm doing a lot of animated stuff right now. Yeah.
One of my favorite shows that you appeared in, and I'm a junkie for this show, is your Eddie character in True Blood. Well, I watch the show because I love shows that have sexual tension. And when you have werewolves banging vampires and vampires banging humans and humans banging witches, and you make it real and you're bringing all this great acting, and in real life, look, Stephen Moyer and Anna Penguin got married because by the sex was good in the show. Why didn't they give you more sex scenes in that thing? I know you had a crush on Lafayette. What the hell's going on? Why can't you get Stephen Root? Every single episode, there's 40,000 people having sex.
Look, I played a gay vampire, and I had a nice romantic scene with, you know, very handsome black men, and I found out that men's mouths are much bigger than women's. It was weird kissing him, but he was a good kisser. So what are you gonna do?
Wow.
So Barry, I think, is one of the greatest what if series. What if a hitman became an actor? And you only feed Barry. I would love to hear what you guys talk about in between takes, because some of your scenes and the fight scenes are incredible. Do you guys ever sit there and just go, can you believe we did this?
Yeah, I sat there. Last season we had this thing with this girl who's jumps up on roofs and is the daughter of a stunt, and she was incredible. So Bill and I would sit there and watch this stunt girl run up a tree, leap over to the top of a house, and sit up there. And it's like, I can't believe this is a new world for me. It's unbelievable. And the fact that Bill writes and directs and stars in it is just insane. I think he's gonna direct half the episodes this year, and Alec Berg, the other creator, is directing the other half. We're starting right now, finally, with the third season of Barry. We're starting this week with it, and we're so excited. So excited. We've had the scripts for a long time, since they had, a year and a half to write them. They wrote 8 scripts and they just dumped them on us and said, this is what's going to happen. What do you think? And we were able to, say, well, give some input into what the season was. So that was incredible.
Well, I'm going to show you a picture of you in 1991. This is you as Kevada. You are a Klingon.
I am a
and
Klingon.
why I bring this up is I am a huge Trekkie. And if you go to Comic-Con, you go to Trekkie convention, Stephen, there'll be pictures of you there. Listen.
Yeah.
the Klingon women are considered the sexiest aliens in the universe. And at Comic-Con and Trekkie, they dress them up in lingerie. They dress them up in bikinis. I think if they would have put you in this outfit on True Blood, you would have had more chances other than Nelson, rest in peace, Nelson Ellis, Lafayette. Yeah, you would have had more werewolves and heterosexual vampires in the script. I'm serious.
I think Klingons in bras are great, and I back it.
I'm serious. You walk to a Trekkie convention, you see all these Klingons, and they're dressed in bras and thong bikinis, and I'm thinking, wow. And I'm a huge Trekkie, so I looked at your resume and said, wow, this guy. And I remember I watched all the Star Trek generations, so bravo.
That one actually, I got to use my Shakespeare in that, because we had, at that time, they were still using, they put in the teeth, the dentures as well. So we had to speak over the dentures. So I got to use my Shakespeare training in that role. It was crazy.
That's fantastic. So Man in the High Castle I turned John on to that series because.
Oh, good. I think it's a good series. I loved working on it. Loved working with the people. It's a great city, Vancouver. We shot it in Vancouver. Great, wonderful time. But I think Four Seasons was right. I think that was it should have ended where it ended. But I really, really had a good time with it. And the daughter of the writer was there with us as well. So it was pretty great.
Wow. Did you guys have to kind of keep reminding yourself of what the story was? Because it kind of went into different atmospheres, and different universes there. Was that difficult as an actor to kind of keep that going?
Well, it is for somebody who's not in every episode. I was in probably 4 or 5 of the 10 or 12 they did each time. So I would really have to read up in between when I would show up and find out what the hell's going on, because they block shoot those things as well. Block shooting means you take 2 or 3 episodes and you shoot different scenes in them at the same time. So we do the same thing in Barry. You're maybe shooting something 2 episodes away from the one that you actually should be shooting. So yeah, you really have to pay attention to what's going on in the universe, the story universe. Absolutely.
My mother just texted me and she said, oh my God, he looks great. He's better looking on your show than he is on TV. Yeah.
Now that's another workout.
No. Yeah. The Hope and A Bridge Club in Las Vegas off Painted Deserts watching this right now. So
excellent.
Tell them there's no Manischewitz in this, all right?
No, I'm up to Boone's Farm at this point, so it's okay.
Right. So you know what, Stephen? I'm and you are too. You're a favorite of the Coen brothers. You were No Brother, Where Art Thou? No Country for Old Men. Talk about your experience working with those 2 guys, because I think they're brilliant.
I think it's the greatest, one of my greatest achievements, quote, as a character actor, is to be able to work with those guys more than once. And I was, it's now, it's 4 times with them, and I've just done one with only Joel. Joel Coen is doing The Tragedy of Macbeth. And we shot that right before COVID and a little during COVID. So that should be coming out at the end of the year with Denzel as Macbeth and Franny as Lady Macbeth. So it should be amazing. But anyway, I've gotten to work with them like 5 times now, and it's such a huge thing for me, because I was an enormous fan well before I got to work with them, and to see them work so well together. I mean, they're like one brain, the both of them. They storyboard almost everything they do to the point where that exactly what they see as a director, and you can help them do that vision of it. So they're amazing, and I'm so honored to be able to work with them.
Now let me ask you this: does one of them do the story structure and the other one does the dialogue, and they just mesh?
You'd think. They just trade positions on producer and director. I mean, it doesn't matter, because they both do both. They both do the writing, they both do the directing and producing. Uh, so you could be given a note by Ethan one day, and by Joel the next, and it's all the same because it's all coming from one cohesive place for them.
One brain. Okay. Hey,
Yeah.
when you were talking about the COVID, and you were off from Barry for what, it must have been about 18 months or so.
Yeah.
Do you think that certainly people would think, well, you might be a little rusty because you weren't working as much, but at the same time too, it might have created more incredible content because it gave you time to kind of put it together, or maybe because of the COVID, there was more conflict there. How do you feel now coming out of it, going back into it, or because of you doing so much voiceover work, you really didn't have much of a
Well,
hitch?
I did have a 4-month period where I really didn't do anything. I didn't do a thing. And then slowly animation stuff started to come back, even though you'd go into the studio, it would be you only. You would go in, do your thing, and you would come out of the studio. They would, clean the studio and let it air out for a half hour before they let anybody else in, which is weird. But harder to work was during COVID was I did a couple of television shows, and you would have to, what a PPE is, the plastic mask. You'd have to wear a PPE and a mask up until the moment you were about to act, and then you'd rip them off, give them to an AD, you do your scene, and they would run like little bunnies to you again, and you'd put them on so that you're in a mask and a PPE for 12 hours, plus you're acting, it's fine. It was much more difficult. It still is more difficult. We still have the same things in place, not the PPEs as much, but we always have masks. So it's a harder job now. It's a harder job, but we were thrilled to be able to do it. There's a point where we couldn't do it. So I'm happy we're back at it.
Stephen, is there a director you long to work with that you haven't? Your long resumes, or someone that's out there that, hey, I'd love to work with this person because it could bring on a new face to my work?
Not a director so much as I missed working with like somebody like Gene Hackman, leads who were really character actors, or Dustin Hoffman, who was really a character actor, but he was a lead. I missed some of those older guys. I was lucky enough to be able to work with Redford and Eastwood, so I feel okay about that. But yeah, I missed a couple of my heroes. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Again, this is Daily Fish. We're talking to Stephen Root. And Stephen, it seems that streaming is beginning to take over everything. And I'm wondering, do you worry that too many stories are just going to be put into, 4 seasons of 10 episodes when they could easily be a 2-hour movie? Or are you worried that you're not going to have live theater? I know you haven't done a lot of live theater lately, but do you worry that maybe that we're just going to go straight into streaming and that's what it's going to be? Or do you think things are going to come back a little bit more normal and we're going to have the way we were before?
Well, I think, how theaters were moving towards before COVID, they were moving towards bigger seats, seats that were wider apart from each other, lounge chairs in theaters. I think it'll move more towards that so that you're away from a person that's really close to you. So I think theaters will come back, but there'll be smaller audiences with bigger, more comfortable spaces for them to be in, so people won't freak out. As far as streaming, I think it's been a boon to a lot of things. I think a lot of things in movies got crunched up and you couldn't tell the whole story. So if you're doing 6 or 8, you have room to expand and give backstory. So I like that aspect of streaming, but what I don't like is them just throwing stuff on. They'll tell you it's on, it's gone, into a morass of other things. Here's what I think should happen. They should have some kind of app that you type in, you talk to your thing and you say, I'd like to watch a show, and you don't know what service it's on, that app should take you to the service and take you to the show. And if all those, and if they could have something that it would be very easy for you to find the content you want, because it's incredibly difficult right now, and you're missing a lot of great stuff, I think.
You made a great point earlier about Man in High Castle went 4 seasons, and it should be enough. My concern, and I'm 60 years old, is that you had some great shows like All in the Family. We just talked about The Sopranos last week, and then Breaking Bad, that really had over 10 years of great writing.
Right.
Is the direction of Hollywood right now going to the pros that maybe it's a 3 or 4 seasons and that's it? It's a wrap because we can't get the writing to keep people's attention because of these.
I think, yeah. Well, I think that's true. We have no attention span anymore. But
right.
I think in terms of that, people would be happy to have 3 or 4 seasons and done, so then they could actually binge it and get it done. And I understand that, but it all depends on the story arc. And if that takes a longer time to do in 5 or 6 seasons, then you do that. But as you say, the phone has taken over your life, and you can only seem to have tiny bits of concentration anymore. So I think it's going to go shorter and shorter. It used to be when they were doing shows that were, just limited series, there were 13, then there were 10, then there were 8, then there were 6, and that's where we are now. I mean, Barry's at 8, and I think that's just perfect for our storyline, what we need to do. But I think if it gets below that, then it's, I don't know. You don't get to tell the story you want, and I don't know. I don't know where it's going to go. But that's what I think. I wish you could find content easier, and I hope somebody finds a way to do that.
Who's your favorite kiss on screen? Female, male, or Klingon? What's your favorite? Come on.
I know you want me to say Klingon. Don't you think the hottest alien chick was the green girl on the original Star Trek?
Absolutely.
Come on.
Absolutely. Oh.
That was it. That was the best thing on TV. That and Batgirl. I mean, Yvonne Craig. Come on.
I also think 7 of 9 on The Generation, played by Jerry Ryan.
Oh,
that was
the sexiest woman alive. Yeah,
Thank
absolutely. You. Yeah, incredible.
I love this guy, John. But anyways, you're gonna answer the question. Who's your best kiss on screen?
I don't know. There was a movie that Clooney did where it was years ago, like 10, 12, 15 years ago, where he took a woman and they had a passionate kiss. He broke the kiss and then literally flipped her over and they had sex again. It was the sexiest thing I've ever seen. So I would say George.
I was talking about you and your career.
Oh, me?
Segue to George Clooney.
The only kisses I've had are Nelson, which was, he was a great kisser. But then Rue McClanahan in Golden Palace. I kissed Rue McClanahan in Golden Palace. If I had any other kiss. Oh, my wife. I got to kiss my wife.
Okay.
Romy Rosemont.
Romy Rosemont in an episode of Hot in Cleveland, which is great.
I forgot about that. That's right.
So that's probably, I should say that's my greatest kiss. So I'll say that.
Okay, that's good. Speaking of Romy, and most people don't know, I ruined a part of her career because I had her co-host a pilot talk show with me that went nowhere. The good news is our guest on the pilot was Bryan Cranston many years ago. So Romy is also a very talented actress who's done an awful lot there. She was in Glee. So please tell her we said to say hello, and we'd love to have her on the show at some point.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you this, because one of the things I notice, and again, when I do a lot of binge watching, and my wife Terry, who said to say hello to you guys as well, one of the things we're amazed at is how great the acting is. I mean, it used to be when we used to watch television, we'd kind of go, just had it. I'm amazed at all the all the content that's out there, and I keep seeing new, very, very good actors.
It's
Why
like when I'm telling you, it's like in the studio system in the 60s and 50s, there was 50s acting, there was 60s acting, and then suddenly in the early 70s, there was naturalistic acting. And I think that's happening now because it kind of went back again in the 80s to 80s acting, and 90s had its own stilted form. But I think after that, it started getting so naturalistic that that's all the new actors know how to do right now, which is great because it's all truth all the time. And that's what you're doing when you're acting. You're telling the truth. So I see just scads of young, phenomenal actors. It scares me a little that a lot of them aren't coming from theater just because that gives you a discipline that helps you on set later in life. But they're amazing. They're incredible. And I think it's a golden time for acting right now.
Sure. You know, I'll watch a show, John and Steven, and I'll look at the Wikipedia. Who's this person? And you find out that it's actually an English actor, and they're playing in America and they never one time do they lose, the American accent, and it's fantastic. You see that a lot, and I'm sure you've worked a lot. I'm sure you've worked on shows with English people that are playing Americans. And
sure, yeah, amazing. Or Australians. There's a lot of Australian actors do great American accents. My buddy Fred Molina does an amazing American accent. There, I don't know how they do it, but because we seem to do really shitty English ones, but they're very, very good.
By George, he's got it. All right, Stephen, we're about ready to wrap up here, but I want to tell you, I was at the Verizon store today getting a new phone and iPad, and the sales guy, Dan, he's going to be watching the show tonight. And I told him you were going to be on. He goes, "Oh my God, I love him. He burned down the building." He was talking about you in Office Space. And I can remember you and I met probably 25 years ago at the Crosby. And you and I were paired together. And all everybody could say was, "There's the guy from Office Space." Do you still get that? Do people still remember you from that?
Oh, I think, and I've said this before, I'm hoping that if I'm lucky enough to get in the New York Times obituary, it will read Milton dead. Because that's pretty much all people recognize me for. Yeah, it doesn't matter if I've done other stuff. But I think that's great, though, because that means I'm not recognizable as Stephen Root, but I'm recognizable as the character, and that's fine. That's the whole point. But yeah, mostly Office Space, sometimes Dodgeball, sometimes Barry now, but again, it's always going to be Milton.
Yeah, my son said this guy was great in Get Out. What a great movie that was.
Oh, fantastic.
But you bring that up. Bring up Office. Isn't it great when you work on a show and you've been around a long time and you see that ensemble of Carell, Rainn Wilson, Krasinski is blown up right now with The Quiet Place, writing and directing. Yeah. I mean, you see so many great actors that are in one piece.
Yeah. What a beautifully directed movie. I haven't seen Quiet Place 2 yet. I'm sure it's just as good. But John did such an amazing job directing the first one. Yeah, phenomenal.
All right, we have been talking to Stephen Root, a huge Florida Gator fan and alum. He is also one of our most prolific actors of our time. Look for him in Barry, Bombshell, The Man in the High Castle. Plus, he is a voice in the upcoming animation series Blade Runner Black Lotus. Stephen, thank you so much for coming on. Thanks for bringing us the drink of the week, and going to have you back on again, maybe during football season.
All right, drink up and then have another one.
Go. Cheers. Good luck to your Gators this year. All right.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Look for that running game. That's what's going to happen.
That's it.
Okay.
All right, Stephen. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Coming up, Fish and I, we're going to wrap things up and hook you into next week. But first, you need a great golf getaway? Well, the Myrtle Beach Golf Trail has dozens of courses along the Carolina coast. Set up an entire trip for yourself, your family, or a bunch of friends. The site is myrtlebeachgolftrail.com. Play there year-round. But coming up, fall is prime season here on the Carolina coast. So just remember that. All right. We got to talk about this because that was such a fun interview exploring what someone like him does. And this was probably the toughest show, I think, for us to prepare for, because What don't you talk about with Steven? I mean, he's done so many. If you go to IMDb and you look at the list, I mean, it's hundreds and hundreds of things. And not only that, he's just one of the great guys of the business, as well as being probably one of the most learned.
That's it. When we have a guest on, you go to IMDb and you go to Wikipedia. It's 3 pages long. I mean, between the theater, the cinema, and TV. Then you talk to people that you might know in the business, and they say Steven Root is just the kind of guy like we have you want to have a drink with. He's a great guy. He's great to the crew, and that's why he probably gets a lot of work. And he's so talented. I mean, and he's one of these guys we talked about before the show that you'll see have Steven Root on and say, well, who's that? Then they see him. Oh, I've seen him in this and that, and they remember from everything. And he's going to continue to work and continue to entertain us.
So, and we'll definitely try to have him back on, especially once we get into football season, if the Gators are doing good. You know, what's really interesting about the Gators season is they do have the potential. Again, they lost, I'm drawing a blank on his name, but the wide receiver that they had last year, who was really good, went like in the first round. So I think he's right about the running game, but I think it's their 3rd game of the season is Alabama. I think like September 18th. So they're going to know right up front what's going to happen as far as that goes. So that we'll be watching that as well. Sure. So coming up for us here, Fish, we are running into the busy season now. We're just talking about college football and the NFL kicking off, and also baseball down the stretch. So I don't know about you, but I am really looking forward to it. I'm glad we took that week off because I know we're energized now to really get things going.
Sure. This is it. If it's the dog days of August we talk about, the fall's right around the corner, and we'll be previewing the NFL and college football. Talk about our guests that we're having on next week, John. It's going to be great.
Yeah, next week we have heavy-hitting lawyer Ken Lakin, who has repped people, the NFL players, and also actors. He's also a huge college football and baseball fan, and he's from Boston. Plus, he has seen his share of Super Bowls and also bucket list golf courses around the world. And Kenny's just a ton of fun. He's got a lot of information. He's got a lot of history of certainly what goes on in Boston. We're also going to talk to him about the Red Sox, because right now the Red Sox they've only won 2 of their last 13 games. They're about 5 games out now, and they seem to be going down the chutes, whereas the Yankees seem to be moving up, and kind of my prediction of the Yankees and the Dodgers is beginning to look a little bit better, even though that National League West is still looking very, very good. But the American League East is looking good too. In fact, a lot of the other races are tightening up. The fact that the Mets and the Phillies are actually pretty close, and the Astros and the A's are pretty close. So you and I got a lot to talk about, and Kenny Lakin will be able to help us as well.
Terrific. So I have to ask you, John, what was your greatest kiss on screen?
My greatest kiss on screen was, I don't think I've ever kissed anybody on screen. I don't think they've ever allowed me to. So probably when my wife and I got married and she allowed me to kiss her in public. So, but no, I haven't done, because I didn't do much acting. And I can, one of the stories, and I didn't get a chance to do this when we were talking to Bryan Cranston, was, and again, Bryan and I had been friends for a while, and I was doing some acting classes, but I was doing it more for the writing that you and I were going to do. And I remember saying, oh, maybe I should try this. And I mentioned it to Bryan. He goes, do you wake up every morning dreaming about acting, wishing you were acting? You want to jump out of bed. You just want to grab the script and you want to be a character. And I go, no. And he goes, then you don't want to do that. And you know what? He was absolutely right. I was kind of like, yeah, I don't really want to be an actor. So, kiss on screen. No, I mean, I can, that's probably my best kiss on screen right now that I kissed you.
Right. Well, I've had a couple of kisses. I've done a couple of really, really deep porno films directed by John Hyatt. I did When Harry Ate Sally, and I did Forrest Humps. And you can find it if it's a Blockbuster Videos around anywhere. Check it out, man. It's wow. Talk about bad acting. Steven Root couldn't do a recreation of me in a porno film. With that being said, John, as I've taken this show to a new level of desecration, take us out.
All right. Remember, Daily Fish is live from Vegas and Myrtle Beach. Maybe not anymore. Catch us on Facebook at daily.fish.5, DBNA Television on Roku TV, Amazon, and Fire TV, soon Apple TV. The DBNA Television website is at dbandatelevision.com. And we are also on YouTube. Write to us if you can, dailyfish1@gmail.com. Again, next week we have Ken Lakin from Boston, lawyer, and also just an expert on everything going on in Boston. Fish, looking forward to seeing you. Hopefully they'll let us back on the air next week.
Oh, they will. Just blow a kiss.